Hi everyone, it's Shamila Ramjawan coming to you from the Red Corner Chat. And this evening, I get the pleasure to speak to the gorgeous Kas Naidoo, who is the founder of Executive Matchmaking. She's also a relationship coach and matchmaker. Good evening, Kas. How are you doing?
Good evening, Shamila. Thank you so much for having me.
It's only a pleasure. So, do you maybe just want to give us a bit of your background before we really go into the matchmaking story?
Okay, sure. I started off my career as a teacher, and it's just as time went by, it was almost like I felt a calling to do something more, and I always connected with my students in terms of them wanting to come just sit and chat with me. And I felt that I wanted to do something where I can really make an impact in the world, but I choose the content of what I'm teaching. So life coaching was kind of like the next step. It was more of a calling, a pull for me. So I'm coaching now for over 20 years. And the time when I started, most people didn't even know what a life coach was. So today it's quite commonplace. But yes, it's been a very, very exciting journey. I think the most wonderful thing is when you watch someone transform their lives because they are starting to change the way they think, changing their beliefs, releasing all the emotional stuff, and then coming into alignment with the life that they want to create. It's just such a beautiful process. And the results are so quick as well. So I think when I got divorced, initially, normally when people get divorced, it's really painful. So at that point, it was like, if you're a man, stay the hell away from me. So I took the time to heal, and I took the time to really go and do the research about what makes relationships work, what makes them fail. So I interviewed over 1,000 people who are single to see what the challenges are, people who are divorced to see why some marriages fail, and people who are very happily married to see what made those relationships work. So I think it was kind of like an evolution that happened quite naturally to get me to this point.
That is very interesting. So, interviewing that 1,000 people or more, did you actually come up with the idea then of the executive matchmaking? Or can you just take me through that? How did that start?
Okay, so obviously the question was, I don't do bars and I don't do clubs, right? So I asked myself, where does one go today to meet people that are like myself? And I couldn't find anywhere. If you're not doing that. And then as a business person, I'm working on my own. So I'm not really, in a space where I'm in the middle of a group of people and we could meet new people that way. So, and of course, I don't date clients. So, the whole idea of it started forming in my mind. And I said, surely if I have this challenge, there has to be literally hundreds of thousands of people that are very professional, quite into their work, and now they want to find a partner. And the question is, where do they go to find somebody like themselves? And that's how the idea of executive matchmaking came about. It's just over 13 years now.
That's a long time, Cass. We're going to get into that in great detail. Just back to what you said, I don't date clients. I'm in a very similar situation. I will not date clients because I think, you have to distinguish between being a professional person and being just an ordinary person where you're going to date your clients, because that would not gel for me. And I think for a lot of people out there. And I think that's where people find it difficult to find people.
Correct. So many people in their work situation don't want to date the people that they're working with. So that becomes the challenge of now, where do I find a partner?
Sure. And also, I'm going to think way ahead. If you're going to date somebody you're working with, I mean, imagine being with someone 24/7. That's going to be so boring, right?
Yeah, and also if the relationship doesn't work, then it becomes really uncomfortable to be in the same space, and you want to move on with your life, but the ex is right there. So I think to avoid those kind of things, and also to have that bit of space between you, so you can go to work and do that separately from your relationship. I think that space is important to have.
Yes, for sure. Now, just from your experience, you've worked with so many people, so many couples. What do you think are the challenges that one faces in finding the ideal partner?
I think today it's very different from, in the past, family members would introduce people. And today, I think the younger people are a little bit averse to that. So they go online. There's plenty of websites and apps and things that you can just simply go and try to meet someone that way. And I think based on what my clients are telling me, after they've tried that and then they come to me, there's just too much choice. And I don't believe that we can get into a serious relationship if we're chatting to a dozen people at the same time. And each one's focus is on who's new, who's next. So that conversation is watered down. Whereas if you are talking to just one person or maybe two people and you're just getting to know someone, then I think it's easier to make a decision as to whether this person is right for you to get into a relationship with or not. So I find that the challenge is that with the younger people, they're constantly dating, but they're not really getting into that committed relationship.
So you would suggest that people don't speak to many people at the same time, but just focus.
Yes, yeah, definitely, because I think that is why people get stuck in the dating routine. And it's just going from one to the other. So it's very easy when you meet someone and you think, they've got all these wonderful qualities, but there's this one thing that I don't quite like, and then we write them off and go searching for the next person. Because for me, I really believe that we are not taught how to create healthy, happy, meaningful relationships. There's really not much education in terms of that. So when it comes to our careers, we are spending a lot of time studying. It takes us years, and then we'll start work at the bottom level. We'll work our way up, we'll study further, and on it goes. We put in so much time and energy into studying and gaining experience. But when it comes to relationships, we tend to fall into the fairy tale mindset where we think one day I'm just going to meet this right person and we're instantly going to know and we're going to fall in love and then live happily ever after. So with relationships, we don't want to spend the time on the education, and we don't want to consciously go into a relationship and say, okay, here I am, and I don't expect the other person to be perfect because I'm not perfect. So if we can start that process and say, I'm looking for a partner to build a life with. And I seriously believe that if you're talking to people that are not looking for the same thing, and very often, one partner wants a commitment and the other one says, I'm not really ready for a relationship, and we don't hear them when they say that. So we feel, but we have this wonderful connection and we're chatting, and they will change their mind, and they don't. So when someone says, I'm not ready for a relationship, or I'm just dating at the moment, or I just want to be a friend, we must believe them. And I think there's too much of that going on when we're talking to a whole lot of people. We can't really get to know one person well enough to make that decision as to whether we want to get into a relationship or not.
So, with your experience, do you think people are looking for marriage partners or just partners? These days marriages they break up so easily. some people just get married to get divorced, I would say. So what do you think, in your opinion and with your experience, are people looking for marriage partners, or they just want partners to live with or just be with for fun times? I'm trying to actually get this around my head because we see that happening so often these days.
You know, the worldwide divorce rate is now 53%. And I think that is something we must take very, very seriously. I have different types of clients. The older clients I'm noticing are not looking for marriage, but more they're looking for a companion, especially if they've been married for a long time. They're looking for a companion that they can socialize with, go to movies, have dinner, but they're not necessarily looking for marriage.
Can I stop you there? Sorry, can I stop you there? Do you get that mostly from the men or from the women?
Both.
Both, okay.
Surprisingly, both, yes. Yes.
Okay.
I think, you know, some of our women today, they're so smart and they're so independent that they feel they value their space now. So they really don't want to go into the old role that they used to play. Now they feel, you know, I'm quite comfortable and I just want a companion, right?
Okay.
Then I find the younger people, there's one batch that are completely anti-marriage. It's like no matter what, it's not an option, they won't even consider it. And then there's another lot of people that have the old-fashioned values and are looking for the traditional marriage and family, you know, and those are the clients that come to me for the matchmaking, obviously.
Okay, so
of course, you know, Shamila, I respect all of it. I feel that if someone believes that marriage is not for them, then they must never be forced into that. If that is their belief, then they are not going to create a deeply meaningful relationship. If they're forced to go into something, they're going to attract someone and the problems are going to be there because our external reality is merely a reflection of all the internal beliefs that we hold.
For sure. But do you agree with me that they must actually come out from the very outset and say, this is exactly what I want? This is the person I'm looking for, and this is what I want. I'm not going to give that person the commitment of a marriage. I want a companion. Do you find that happens, or do people just lead people on?
I think it's both. Because we haven't been taught to communicate our needs openly, a lot of people that come in will say what they think the other person wants to hear. And that's when, you know, people are just being led on for years and years and there's no commitment. And then, of course, you know, in today, the famous thing is ghosting, where you meet someone and you think, wow, this is incredible. You have such a wonderful connection. And suddenly the one person just disappears. There's no explanation. They don't respond to texts or calls. They just simply disappear. And it's become so common today, and I think it's so sad because it simply shows a total lack of respect and being unable to communicate openly. You know, I'd rather, the advice I give to people, if you meet someone and you get to the point where, you know, things have been going well, but you change your mind, the least you can do is say to the person, look, I think you're great, and but I'm not feeling the chemistry, or I'm not feeling that we're relationship material together. So, you know, I wish you the very best. You've put it on the table nicely, clearly, and you've been polite about it. And I think it brings closure for the other person to move on as well.
Yes, I think that says a lot about the person's character.
Correct.
Do you find that parents are still playing a role in choosing partners for their kids?
You will be amazed how many calls I get from parents who want me to find a partner for their adult children in their 30s and so, right? So yes, I do get quite a few. I think I would say about 3 or 4 of those calls every week.
Oh my goodness. And do you take on those jobs?
No, I feel that with the way I match my clients, I need to know the client myself. So, you know, I do a video interview with each one of my clients, and I don't believe that someone else can represent them the way that they can represent themselves. For me to be able to match two people, I need to get a feel of that person's energy. So when they're speaking, the things they're interested in, the things that they value the most in their lives, the kind of relationship they want to create, all of that is so important. And I don't think anyone else, even a parent, can convey that message across.
For sure. So, Cass, take me through the process. So somebody wants to get in touch with you and they want to find a partner, okay? Can you just take me through the process?
Sure. So I will set up a video interview with the client. So we will have a chat and I draw up a profile for them. So I just, you know, I always say we cannot guarantee human beings, but we can eliminate some of the risk. When you meet new people, you still have to take the same precautions that you would if you were meeting a stranger on your own, but we can narrow it down. So that interview is not that I'm going to know everything about them. It's just simply so I have an idea and a feel for that person. So then I would share with them profiles of clients that match their profile. I don't share photographs because I think my clients want the confidentiality. So if I were to send a photograph, that's very easy for them to pass that on or show it to friends, and that takes away from the confidentiality. So I'll give them a description and I'll give them an overview of the profile, meaning religion area, what they do for a living, what their interests are, hobbies, their values, what kind of relationship they're looking for. So if he likes her profile and she likes his profile, at that point, I would exchange names and numbers so that the two of them can get together, have a chat, and then they can decide when and where they want to meet.
Okay, and the cost?
The cost of it is 3,000 Rand. That will include the first introduction. Generally, my clients just meet 2 or 3 people. If it works on the first introduction, fantastic. If it doesn't and they come back to me and they want a second introduction, then it's 500 Rand per introduction going forward.
And it's unlimited then, as long as they pay 500 Rand per introduction.
Yes, yeah. And again, you know, I really don't advise them meeting a ton of people. I'm very focused on the education around relationships. I want to know if somebody's really ready for a relationship when I'm doing their interview. Because sometimes we have people that have just come out of a relationship and they haven't really taken the time to heal. And now they want to move forward into the next one. And I can almost guarantee that what you didn't heal in the last one, you're going to attract in the next one. So you're just going to repeat those patterns over and over again. So it's really worthwhile to stop, take a step back, and really look at it and say, who was I in this relationship? What were my experiences? How did I treat the other person? How was I treated? How did we communicate? How did we resolve conflict? And what can I do differently? So you have to go through that process. And you have to go through the healing. So when you come out of it, you're actually now a different person getting into the next relationship. You're taking all the lessons with you, but you're leaving the pain behind. Because when someone tries to get into the next relationship too quickly and they haven't done the healing, it's almost like they're going in with a shield in front of them and they're saying, don't hurt me, don't hurt me. Right? So they become very suspicious and very judgmental, and they're expecting this person to do what the last person did. So that's the wrong time to get into relationship.
Yes, I get that, but everyone's different. There's, different people, different personalities, different healing processes. What would be your advice to someone who's just been divorced?
Exactly that is take the time, take a step back. First, they need to just be kind to themselves, and just take the time to heal before even going into the introspection about the relationship, because they are the emotions that will come up like anger, blame, guilt, fear, all of those emotions would come up, and these emotions need to be felt and then released. So we can't just simply come out of that and say, the worst thing sometimes I think is our friends who want the best for us and are well-meaning will say, oh, just get over it. Let's go, I'll introduce you to someone, or let's go have a party. He wasn't worth it or she wasn't worth it anyway. Just move on. And I think that's the worst advice we can give, even though it's well-meaning. So
Yes.
I'd advise someone that's divorced to really take the time, heal, be kind to themselves, and work on loving themselves again. Because you cannot love someone else more than you love yourself, and you cannot expect someone else to love you more than you love yourself. So working on the self-love, becoming whole again. And in relationship, if it was a marriage, we tend to do a lot of negotiating, and sometimes we lose a part of ourselves. So when you're divorced, it's about finding yourself again. Who are you now? What are your passions now? What are your interests? What adventures do you want to have? What do you want to create next? It can be quite an exciting process as well. So when you get to that point where you're feeling whole and complete again, you're feeling excited about life again, you're feeling in love with yourself and life, that's the time to move into the next relationship.
Okay, so being a relationship coach, do you find that you coach a lot of married couples, or is it just single people?
Both. The couples, this is something that I have to put out there because it's really, really scary. Sometimes I'll get couples coming to me that have been married for 2 or 3 months, and they're ready to call it quits and get divorced. And they've spent a fortune on the wedding. So my advice is always, when you get to the point and you decide that you want to get married, plan the marriage first before you plan a wedding. The wedding is for one day. And I'm not saying don't have a wedding. Have your wedding, but plan the marriage. So sit down, have the discussions with each other, come to an understanding of a common vision for the future that you both want to create. So it's not just about, the fairy tale. The centerpieces and the color scheme and the food and the clothes. It's not just about that. What happens after that day? When everyone else is gone and it's the two of you on your own, what happens then? Those are the discussions we need to be having.
I totally agree. These days people are just not taking their lives seriously, or their love lives seriously. So for a single person out there looking for love, what would be your advice?
I would say, have fun with the process and be light with it. Because when we go into and we're starting to meet people, if you're going in and you have this long grocery list of what the other person should be, right? So you have all your demands put down there. When you do that, you're focusing on the list and you're not seeing the person that is in front of you. It's good to know what it is you want and what you don't want. That you will have. But when you're meeting new people, the first step should be meeting friends, and that's it. Don't go in asking, is this person the one? Go in and say, I'm meeting a new friend. So who are you? What makes you tick? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? What makes you mad? What are you interested in? What are you doing with your life? What are your goals? Just have fun with that process of getting to know a new person. And as you get to know the person, you will start to see how much you have in common, whether your beliefs are aligned, whether you both want the same thing out of life, and only then do you make the decision about getting into a relationship. I think because we live in the society where everything is instant, people tend to rush relationships as well. And I think that's the biggest mistake we're making. And that is why the divorce rate, again, is as high as it is.
So Cass, COVID-19, how has that affected your business? Because I'm sure a lot of people are not meeting now, and I would hope not, you know?
Yes, yeah. Yes, yeah. I think a lot of people, especially, right in the beginning, April, May, were not really interested in meeting new people and things. And at that time, I just focused on the workshops and the coaching because I thought, what a perfect time for that. But now I see more people are getting to that point where, hey, it's time now to meet someone new. I even did a video called Remote Dating, giving couples tips of, dating remotely, like we're having a chat right now. You could have a chat like that, or I could be preparing a meal and you're on your side doing something, and we could be chatting and sharing our activities and, just doing stuff like that to be safe and also to connect in a way like you would if you were in the same room. I know it's not the same thing, but it's a safer option.
It is definitely a safer option, but I think there's so many single people out there, Cass. I posted your little post there yesterday, was it yesterday, on my social media pages. And I've got so many people that inbox me and said, this is so interesting. Yes, I'm looking for love. Yes, I want to get in contact. They actually thought I'm the person that's actually now recruiting people and matchmaking. So, yeah. So just tell me a bit. I want to just go back to the matchmaking business, the executive matchmaking. What is the criteria? I think that's most important, just so that my people that follow me and that's asking all these questions, they have an idea of exactly what type of people you recruit into this and matchmake.
Okay, I know this is a sore point for some people, and some people actually get very annoyed with me, but I've actually I have a business coach, and I've been through a year-long mastermind program. And one of the first things you learn there is that you have to create a niche market. And that niche has to be really, really narrow. So in the beginning, I started out, it was just matchmaking. So it was all people, all races, all religions. And it was really difficult. It took a long time to match people because of all of those differences in the criteria. So as the years went by, I started narrowing it down to professionals and business owners. And then I narrowed it down even further. So now my niche is single Hindu professionals. And, like yesterday, for example, I got a very angry call from a lady who said she's a professional, but she's Christian, and does it mean that she can't? And I said, look, I don't have anything against any other religion. It's just that I've got to choose my market, So if you're a cardiologist and I come in with a broken leg, you're not going to treat me because that's your area of specialty, But she was just too angry. She didn't want to hear anything I had to say. So, that is it. It's single Hindu professionals. That's my market.
Are you going to change that at all? Because I had somebody that inboxed me, a very close friend of mine, and he said to me, but she's only taking in Hindus and I'm Christian. So.
Occasionally, if someone, if they're not rude to me and they actually have a conversation, I will take down their details and keep it on hand. So if I get another query and I say, I think these two people would be good together, then yes, I will go and exchange numbers, But my key market is the single Hindu professionals.
Well, I think you have to look at just going a bit broader. in time to come, because I think, there's a lot of single people, lonely people out there, and you have quite a great platform. You've got so much of experience as well, and I'm sure you will do good for those people as well. So, Cass,
Yeah, I think in time, I might create like a separate group for Christian singles, or but it's just not right now.
yeah, and I think you've created a brand. People trust you as well. I read some of the Facebook comments where people are thanking you for your services and talking about being in happy relationships and all of that. So, do you maybe want to tell me a little bit about the success rate?
Oh, that's the nicest part of it, when a client calls and says, I had a call about 2 weeks ago from a gentleman in his 50s. So he's been divorced, and I introduced him to someone, and he called to say, I am the happiest I've ever been in my life. And it really, really touched my heart, because this is the reason I do what I do. So, there's lots and lots of people like that, because it's quite a while now, as some of my earlier clients are married and they now have kids. So, because it's been a while. Like I said, I can't give you a rate as such. I've matched over 800 people so far, but some of them are not together for marriage. So they together and in relationships but not married. Whereas the younger ones are the ones that will take that step into marriage.
Awesome, well done. 800, that's quite a number. How can one get hold of you?
I think, the Facebook page is called Next Level Up, or on email, it's info@nextlevelup.co.za.
Awesome. Cass, thank you so much for chatting to me. I'm sure we're going to get lots of questions after I post this video. And I wish you everything of the best. And yeah, let's hope that you just go a bit broader and try and accommodate more people. And we want to see people happy.
Yes, I'm sure in time, there may be room for that. Thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure. And also get ready for after COVID, post-COVID, because remember,
yes,
the divorce rate is going to skyrocket.
I know. Yeah, and I post like quite a few videos and articles and stuff on the Next Level Up page on Facebook, because I just want to get the information out. I will be doing some free webinars for people, that have just been divorced, or people that are wanting to know, am I really relationship ready? Those kind of topics, first date questions that you can ask. So I just want to put out that information. So, I really feel there's a gap in the education around relationships. So, your viewers can watch out for that.
Everything starts with education, and then almost everything falls into place. Well done on what you're doing. God bless you. Take care, and we will chat soon.
Thank you very much. All the best to you as well.
Thank you, Cass. Thank you to everyone that's watching. Bye.